Hello Pixel Pushers, this is Sadiq Hussain from the Pixel Pushers YouTube channel, and today we're going to look a little bit further into how to clean up and use and also further develop a custom signature or a brand signature or a watermark. Now we've already done a couple of videos on this, and one particular one which I'll put a description in the a link in the description to the video, and also a link at the end of the video, so do go and watch that. So we're not going to repeat that about getting your signature on a piece of paper and scanning it in. That's already covered in that video, but in that one there was some little bit of cleaning up to do on that image at the time. So if we look at that image there, there's a bit of cleaning up to be done there, and the edges were showing because of the way that the image was selected. So I'm going to go over about cleaning it up, about getting it ready, about erasing the background again, a couple of different ways, but also then the application of it. How do you use the signature with some typography? We did cover this, but I'm now going to take it a little step further by adding a graphic behind it, maybe even a stylized graphic. We've got some an effect on it, which is a drop shadow and an edge to the graphic as well, a key line. So we'll be doing all of that and then creating a brush from it, and then applying it. Okay, so we'll use this image, and I've already applied it there. I've got it selected on the brush, but let's just say I've already applied it there. And how do we then change its blend modes and its opacity to make it blend in to the image so it's not too obvious? Okay, so that's what we'll be doing. Let's just take this image back to the beginning, and I have created the brush, but I'm going to delete that. Okay, so I'm going to delete that brush, so we're starting from scratch, so to speak. We'll go back to the basic brushes, which is where probably you'll be starting from, and I'm just going to delete that image because we don't want that. That will just confuse matters. Okay, that's what we're going to end up as, but we're going to start from a point of the your signature already scanned in, and like I said, we've covered that in the previous video. Now, how do we clean that up? Right, first thing we need to do, we need to copy that layer onto a blank document. Okay, so we just click on File, New, and New Blank A4. Landscape is normally best. Make it a transparent background. That will become clear in a moment why that is helpful. It's not critical, but it's helpful. So we go back to the signature. We make a copy of that. Command and C to copy it. We'll go to the that document was created over. Let's just move that over here, and we'll just do Command and V, or of course it's Control and C and Control and V on our PC, but this is a Mac. And we just click on the Move and Resize tool and bring it down a little bit, position it there. Now we can see that, can you see there's a little bit of a boundary around it? Now that was a mistake made at the point of scanning it in, but we can clean that up, and that's the point of this particular follow-on video. So these two videos can sit together. So we simply go to the Erase tool. Okay, so on the Erase tool, when you click on the little corner of the tool, you've got Erase Brush, you've got Background Erase Brush, and Flood Erase. Now we're not using the second and third one. We're just using the Erase Brush, and then just change the brush to a standard feathered brush. Okay, just in the basic brush, we don't need anything more than that, and we just simply select that layer, make sure it's selected, and what we're doing, we're basically painting with the eraser, and we are erasing it. And don't make the mistake of doing it at full zoom out. Go right into it and zoom in, reduce the size of the brush if you need to, and essentially you're just removing this unwanted line. And it might be an unwanted mark on the paper, it might be a part of your signature that shouldn't have been there. For example, I'll show you here, there's a little bit of an ink there which isn't normally part of my signature. and you could erase that out as well. So that's all we're doing. We're just erasing that out, and I'm going to just zoom right into there, reduce the size of the brush just so we can erase out that rogue little dot. Okay, Command and 0 just to bring it back to full size. Increase the size of the brush again. Okay, and then we're nearly there, cleaning it up. Okay, so that's cleaned it all up. But you notice if you click on the move tool, you can see the boundary box actually is too big. It's much bigger than we need it to be. We just need it to be around the signature itself or the text itself. Now on its own like that, it doesn't hurt, it won't make any difference, but if you're placing it and you're creating a brush, you have got this area which it'll create a brush from these blank pixels, if you like, and we don't want to do that. So quick way to do that, use the square rectangular marquee tool and essentially just do a new boundary box around that. Okay, and if we do Command and C, so we're basically copying that again, and we do Command and let's just go into a new document, File, New, same as before, just create that, and we do Command and V, and it's now pasted that. So you think it looks the same, but if you click on the Move tool, you can see now the boundary box is much tighter. So you can still do the same things, but because it's tighter, it means that you're not having to select or have selected pixels that you're not going to use. So you could come a bit tighter there, but that's fine. Now what we want to do is insert some text into here. So this part we have covered, but I'm just going to do it because I want to add a graphic to it as well. So let's just type in and then just triple click to select it. Let's change the font. And obviously you choose what you think looks good for your needs. So I'm going to use maybe this brush script this time, and then I can obviously just change the size of it to fit. Because I've got a dot there, what I want to make sure is that I don't obscure that dot by using this other text. So I'm just going to increase the size and say, well, okay, I'm happy for it to be there. If that's what you're happy with, you could change the font if you want to, but that dot's not obscured, which is the dot on top of the I of my signature, and that's a key part of my signature, so I don't want to remove that. Now clearly here, if you wanted to select all of that and you wanted to change it from black maybe to a 50% grey, you could do that, or to a colour. I'm keeping it simple. Let's just have it to about 50% grey. Okay, you can obviously change that at this stage whenever you want to, but you won't be able to change it afterwards. Okay, so get it right here at this stage. So we've got two layers now. You've got the original signature layer and you've got the typography layer on top of there. Now we're not going to group those just yet, which we are going to do. What I want to do is add a graphic behind it. Simple way to do that is use the shape tool. Now obviously you've got lots of shapes there to start with, but let's just go with the rectangle tool, and I'm just going to draw a rectangle around there. Now we don't want the graphic to be white, so we go to the fill. So these are the context sensitive options at the top relevant to that tool. So we don't want it to be white, so just click on that, and I had it grey before, so I'm going to go for slightly darker grey, because remember the text was on, the top text was grey as well, so we want to be able to see that, so we'll have a light grey. Okay, and we want a key line around it, so we want to select, and by experimentation I found that 1 pixel is fine, but you can do a trial and error and see what works for you. Yeah, there's a key line around there, that's okay. Now of course that graphic layer is obscuring what's underneath is because if you look on the layers palette, the rectangle shape layer is at the top, and we don't want it at the top. So if you just drag and move that down to the bottom, so once that goes to the bottom, then everything else is on top of it now we can clearly see, because we want to make sure the signature and the typography is standing out and you can see it. And if it didn't, we could just click on that, double click it, select it, change the color, and maybe make it a little bit darker just to make sure it stands out. Okay, and of course it's best thing to do that now rather than later. The other thing to do on that shape tool is that rather just having a square, sort of a rectangular shape, we can stylize it a little bit by clicking on the, you have to, even though you've got that layer selected, you have to click on the shape tool on the left hand side, because unless you click on that shape tool and that's selected, you don't get the context sensitive at the top here, and that's what we need. Okay, and the single radius means that whatever changes you make to the corners, for example, let's say you want a straight edge, it does it to all four corners. But if you remove single radius and select top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right, so you can choose which ones you want it to apply to. Okay, so let me just go back, change that to the regular, and then change to remove single radius, and I want to apply on the top right. I quite like this stylized look, which I saw in a book recently, a book on the making of Dune, actually, so the new film Dune. So I quite like the way the graphics were laid out in that, with one corner cut like that. Okay, so that's what I like, so that's what I'm going to keep it as. And then I did add a drop shadow, so if I just click on that rectangle again and go to effects at the bottom of the layers panel, and you can add a drop shadow. Drop shadow doesn't always work, but again, it's called an outer shadow. But if you want to have a go and just get a feel for whether it works for you or not, try it, change the nature of it. Okay, and I'm happy with that. So if we zoom into that now, look, you can see that there's a drop shadow, there's a stylized corner, a cut corner, and you've got the photography, typography, and you've got the signature as well. So now we can group all these layers. Now the reason for grouping them is so that any changes that we make now to its size and then to create a brush from it, it means they're all together. So we just right click, select them all, right click, and then group them. So the individual elements are still there, but if I now click on the move tool, I'm now moving everything. Okay, when I resize, I'm resizing everything. That's the drop shadow, that's the signature, and that's the typography, as well as the graphic behind it. Okay, so that's selected. And what I want to do is to create a brush from that, if you recall. So the good idea is to go into the correct brush category in the first place. I've already got a category called custom signature brushes. You can obviously create your own category by clicking on this little hamburger symbol on the top right when you've got the brushes palette open, and create new category and then rename it as we did on the previous video. Again, have a look at that. So now that I've got that selected, I'll just go to File, Export. We want it as a PNG. Remember, it has to be a PNG because only a PNG preserves any alpha channel, anything that's see-through. Okay, if there was anything that's see-through. There isn't actually on this one, but if there was. And we don't want the whole document, because remember, this is the whole document. We're not saving the whole document. We're just saving this selection area only, and it's already selected. Selection area only, and it's much smaller file, 375 kilobytes. It's about 2200 by 700, 800 pixels wide, and that's sufficient. We can resize it afterwards. Click export, and of course it will ask you where do you want to save it to. I've already got a folder entitled brushes that I've created, but of course you create a folder where you're going to save these images from which you're going to create custom brushes from. Okay, so I've already covered that. Make sure you say create a folder. You don't have to, you can just save it on the desktop. It can become messy though if of course you're creating lots of them. So if I just call it brand stamp, and I'd already created one before, so I'll call it brand stamp version 2. Okay, just so it doesn't get confused, but I'm going to put it in there. Okay, so that saved it. So in effect we don't need this anymore, and we go to the custom brushes, and it will be the last one that it will be in the right at the bottom once we've actually imported it. So we click on the hamburger symbol once we've got the brushes palette highlighted, and we go to new image brush. It's just down here, new image brush. Click that, and it'll ask you, well, where is it? I'd already created one earlier. You can see that's why I named this one brand stamp version 2. Okay, and that's now created. Double click that particular brush, and the only parameter we need to change is the spacing. So make sure the spacing is all the way to the right, so the individual dabs of the brush will give you what you need. So I'm just going to open up the image that I'm going to apply it on. There's the brush there, the last one in that category, signature, custom signature brushes, because that was the category I'd got open. Okay, I've got that selected. Click on the brush tool on the left hand side, and just increase the size of the brush, and obviously just dab it where you want it. So for the purposes of this video, I'm just going to increase the size of it, but you might not want it that size. But let me just place it there. Okay, now don't place it on the background like I've just done. So let me just undo that last edit. Always create a new pixel layer, a blank pixel layer, and always put your brush on there. Now it doesn't look any different, but of course what that allows you to do is to, when you click on the move tool, it allows you to resize it, which you can't do if it's actually on the background layer. It allows you, because it's sort of painted it on that background layer. It allows you to resize it, allows you to move it, but more crucially, it allows you to, once you've got that pixel layer selected where that brush action is, that particular logo if you like, is that you can change the opacity of it so it's a little bit see-through, so you can still see your image, so you can make it more of a watermark, or indeed you can change the blend modes. And one of the nice ones that tends to work is screen, because that effectively allows you to, if we just move that there, you can see the image through that. Okay, and that combined with the fact that you can change the opacity means that you've got far more control over the way it looks. Of course, if it comes down too far, you can't actually see it, so you might want to just bring it down a little bit and then move that. Command and 0 just displays your image full screen, and well, not full screen but full work area, which is this area here, and I don't want it that big, so just reduce it down, put it there, and that's it. So straight away you've created, cleaned up, and then created a signature, a brand, but with a graphic added to it, stylized, with a drop shadow and all sorts of permutations you can try. And then that is a brand new brush that you could keep. And of course you can keep adding variations of the brush once you've got the original graphic. So having this graphic here is really key. Once you've got that graphic, you've got all the individual elements, there's no reason why you can't go in and change each one of those elements at any time. So, you know, you might want to say, well, I don't want it to be the fill that I've got. I want it to be a different a fill color, and you can change it and then save that version of it if you want to. Okay, so I hope you found that useful. Like I said, it's an add-on to the previous video. Do comment and like, and obviously subscribe if you found the video useful and informative. And if you feel that we need to do something different or cover different areas on the channel, do come back to me, comment, please, and I always reply to a comment and take on board any feedback that I get. And this, in fact, was from one of the feedbacks that I had from the last video regarding how can we improve the methodology of creating a brush and making it more creative, more graphic. And so that's what we've done. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.